Hey there, I'm Joni Simon. Welcome to The Bite Shot. This is where I do food photography, and the goal here is to improve your food photography skills so you can feel confident behind the camera. And this is video number 2 in our series all about marketing your business in collaboration with my friend Ty Turner of Flash Film Academy. If you've not already subscribed, be sure to go check out his channel, and also be sure to check out the first videos that we shared yesterday on both of our channels to set the foundation here, set the scene for video number 2, where we're going to talk about which client we're going to go after and the creative decisions that we're going to make in creating a piece of content to go after that client. So let's talk to Ty. All right, Ty, I'm so excited about this little plan, but we got to figure out who we're going to go after. I'm trying to decide, like, who's the right client for us. Do you have any ideas?
I do have some ideas, but I think it's important that we not only do we do this, but we got to do it for the right client, the right company,
the right person.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got a few ideas. One of them, of course, I wanted to throw out was Coca-Cola, because they're big. You know, they're a big company.
They are big, but I don't know. Do you think they, I mean, I don't want to limit our abilities because obviously we're rock stars, Ty.
That's true.
You got to think big. But true. Do you think they'll be able to see our stuff? Like, do you think they'll share it out? That's
my biggest fear. Is I think a lot of people take a lot of images of Coca-Colas because they're so popular. Mm-hmm. We may not get the traction we're looking for.
Yeah, because even if we don't land them, it'd be great if the brand still reposts the stuff and shares about us.
Or yeah, even if us tagging that brand in our image, it'll bring enough traffic where people can see it even on our page. You know what I mean? So
for sure,
that's what scares me about Coca-Cola. What about you? What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
What about local restaurants? You got thoughts on that? Like a little breakfast joint around the corner?
Pros and cons to it. I think some of the pros are you may be able to walk in and directly meet the people you have kind of helped a little bit. You get to get a little personal feedback, but I think the
lot less gatekeepers, right?
Yeah. I think the cons though is they may not have an audience big enough to help us if they don't hire us.
That's true. Well, and just you think about budget, right? Like if that long term, somebody who is going to hire us and hire us ongoing is going to have a certain amount of financial ability and commitment towards their marketing to afford our services.
I agree. So we need somebody that's in the middle.
Okay. And we're going after a food brand, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's our focus here, because obviously that's my expertise.
Mm-hmm. This is true. We need somebody that maybe we could, we can have the timing can be right with the holidays is coming up. A company that's not too big but not too small, where we feel like we can reach out to them and we can affect them in a way that that they feel. Because if they feel it, they'll reshare it and they'll do things. They'll appreciate it and they'll share it, and that'll bring us the traction we're looking for.
Well, you know who comes to mind? Now, I've seen this brand. They collaborate with a lot of people. They have some fun stuff online. Pretty big company. And you said holidays, which I think we could do something that's really timely. Because what is this? This is summertime. Yep. And so right now I'm doing a lot of holiday content. So this would be kind of good timing that they'd be ready to share this come October, November timeframe. Is Pepperidge Farm and their puff pastry. Because I got all sorts of holiday appetizer recipes. I mean, I could do 30 days. I'm not gonna, but unless they hire us. But I could do days and days worth of puff pastry appetizer recipes. That's on repeat at my house around Thanksgiving time, Christmas time. So that'd be an easy, fun video to do. And I'm sure in line with kind of stuff that they're planning too.
I like that. Let me pull up their Instagram here to see if
Check
they
them out.
Some good stuff. Okay. They can use a few great images. I think the opportunity is definitely there.
They could use our help, you think?
They could use our help. They can definitely use our help. One other thing is I like to personally, when I'm doing something like this, I like to go on LinkedIn and see if I have access to some decision makers in the company. So maybe once we post it on Instagram, we could also just drop it in their inbox, just to see what they say. It's kind of a little backdoor, quiet secret that I like to do when I do projects like this. And on LinkedIn, they do have marketing managers. They do have multimedia specialists and things like that we could possibly reach out to. So I like this company. I think this company
You like
will
this
work.
company?
Yeah.
And, when you think about like just the overall structure of it, I mean, we'll kind of focus in on this one specific sort of area, but knowing Pepperidge Farm as a brand, I mean, they've got a wide variety of products that reach into a wide variety of different kinds of content. And I'm sure that as a business that they've got different divisions, right? Like there's the puff pastry side of things, and you've got like the goldfish crackers, and you've got, the entertaining crackers. I mean, there's a lot, there's the breads, there's a whole lot there. So I think that could give us a lot of flexibility and a pretty big company.
And they don't have a lot of content. Their YouTube channel doesn't have a lot of content. Their Instagram doesn't have a lot of content. So they would welcome us with open arms.
I think so.
Especially
I would.
if we do it right. Yeah, they're like, oh, thank you. Well, so
primed and ready.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's a household brand. They have great stuff. I think it's perfect.
Well, and what if, because looking at, they do have some little sort of, one of the fun things from an Instagram perspective is, the little, shorty videos, little GIFs and things like that, where it's just a couple little actions and movements. What if we did something that's like a stop motion animation, something that's really got some personality and pizzazz to it?
That would be, they would love it. Look, judging by their YouTube channel and their Instagram page, they would love it. Yeah. And everybody knows about
they've got some
their
little
pastries.
short, like 3 action stuff, like where it's like just things kind of shifting and moving around. I'm thinking like we do the whole recipe showing start to finish, but like with the dancing cheese and, dancing crackers and whatnot. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. And that would be perfect for the holidays. That's something they would love to share.
That's an easy reshare too, because you think about a lot of these companies, they're kind of putting together their marketing plans for the holidays, especially this time of year, the summer, they're starting to think ahead, like what are we going to do? What are we going to share? So if we're in line with what they're already creating, that is easy for them to reshare and to engage with us.
Especially with what's going on right now. They want to keep you excited and want to keep you happy to cook and work from home, in the kitchen. So yeah, I think that'll be perfect. That would definitely be perfect.
I love it. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go dive into the creative side of things, just in terms of the aesthetics and deciding on props and lighting. But I think we've got a good game plan. So let's jump on in.
I'm definitely ready.
All right, so we know we're doing puff pastry. We know we're doing holidays. I'm thinking easy appetizers, something that's like 5 ingredients or less. That's something that a lot of companies like Pepperidge Farm would naturally integrate into their content. And so I've thought about this recipe that I've made for the holidays before. It's these little cranberry brie bites. Like you take the puff pastry and you put it in a little muffin tin, you add some brie cheese, a little bit of cranberries, maybe some nuts, bake it, and you're good. And so I'm thinking with the little stop motion animation, it'll be really fun to kind of animate the different ingredients, of course, animate and really focus centrally on that puff pastry, and ultimately end up with the finished recipe. Now, in terms of aesthetic, in terms of reviewing like the Instagram pages and the website and everything that Pepperidge Farm does, like we've clearly got, a white palette, kind of the light and airy sort of thing, but still with a nice like vibrant punch and some positive energy. We want to create content that feels relatable to the home cook. These are all things that would be very typical to find in a creative brief in collaboration with a client like Pepperidge Farm. So that's why I went with this white background that I've got. This one's from Woodville Workshop. It's one of my favorites. It's got a nice bit of character to it, a little worn. I could have also gone with maybe a white marble. You start to assess what you're seeing the client using. Those can be some really great options then to use in your own content. And then in terms of props, I thought, well, we could go kind of standard, like clean and simple. I've got, a pristine muffin tin, or if yours was kind of banged up, go get a new one. But I thought, it'd be nice to use some sort of vintage props in this because it is signifying the holidays, something that's just a little bit more out of the everyday. So that's why I pulled out the Oven-X here, which I did clean up a little bit because it had some rust stains on it. So just touch that up a little bit. Now my secret weapon for this shoot is that I have fresh cranberries that I froze last holiday season, because inevitably one of the things we find in this world of food photography and food videography is usually we'll start creating holiday themed content in July, August, September. Well, good luck finding fresh cranberries this time of year. You're just not going to. So what I do is when fresh cranberries are in season is I'll grab a couple extra bags and I'll throw them in the freezer. And so then for this shoot, in order to throw just some little cranberries, some accents up into the corner, I'm going into my freezer, pulling out those cranberries from last year and just putting them in a little bowl. Now, for the most part, cranberries actually do a pretty good job like holding their form. They don't start to look too weird when they've defrosted. There will be a couple that'll get a little shriveled and you can just toss those. So you gotta be picky to get the good looking ones. But as opposed to like other berries, which really start to look weird after they've been frozen, cranberries do not. And so it's just always super helpful to have cranberries stashed so that no matter what holiday shoots come up in the summertime, you've always got cranberries on hand. Now, in terms of the technical, because we are shooting a stop motion animation, and if you're not familiar with the process of stop motion animation, how that works, I'll link some resources down below. But we want a really cohesive look in the way that we are shooting it so that the lighting is not changing from frame to frame, because I'm literally taking an individual shot in order to stitch that together to create this animation. And so I am shooting with strobes in this situation. I actually prefer to shoot stop motion animation with a continuous LED, but in this particular environment where I'm shooting today, I'm not able to cancel out the ambient light. So in that situation, then I am going to be using a strobe, and I've got the Godox AD600 Pro, although you could do this with a speed light, and I've got it set up in a 40 by 40 square softbox. But it's going to give me some nice clean reflections, considering the fact that I will have some reflective things entering into the scene. So I don't necessarily want to use a rounded softbox or an octagon softbox. I want those really nice clean lines. And then I have my camera rigged up overhead on my C-stand. A lot of you have already seen that video before, but in case you've missed it, I've got a whole video about that C-stand and the rig. I've got that link below as well. And then I'm using the Canon 5D Mark IV tethered into DragonFrame. DragonFrame is an excellent software for stop motion animation. It's got some really cool tools in there. I will link that down below as well. And then in terms of the lens, I'm using the 24 to 70 millimeter f2.8 lens. I have to admit that this is like my favorite lens, or at least my most frequently used lens. It is great, especially in these sort of situations. We can zoom out if I need a wider shot. I can zoom in for those tighter shots. It's just a really great versatile lens, and it is honestly my most used lens for that reason. And then I set to the arduous process of capturing all 728 frames that it took to make this video. Now, I didn't end up using all 728, and there are certain parts of the video, the final video, some of it is 8 frames per second, some of it is 10 frames per second, some of it is sped up to 12 frames per second, so it kind of has a variety. You'll have to see that in the final animation when we post it over on Instagram. And then once I finished all the capture and we did the very important taste test process to make sure that these were delicious, which I can confirm they were, then I took all of those frames, popped them into Adobe Premiere Pro, and edited the final video. Now, one thing I always keep in mind as I am framing videos like this is that I'm going to capture it and understand the application of a 1920 by 1080 aspect ratio, just in terms of kind of that sort of standard video format. However, I will also set things up from a framing standpoint so that if I wanted to, that we could crop this to square and that we wouldn't miss out on any of the important action. Because there will be situations where we want to repurpose that into that square aspect ratio. So just as you're considering it, maybe there are certain props that will come off into the edges that they could get cropped, but as long as your main action is happening in the center, or in a way that you could reorient the frames so that everything is center weighted. That'll just offer you a lot more flexibility in terms of the final format of the video if the client has different uses for it. All right, Ty. Well, I finished the production. I have got something. I'm so excited to send it your way and have you check it out. I think this is going to get us a lot of good attention. But I want to now have you share with us what we're going to talk about in the next video, which is going to be over on your channel.
That's right. Video 3, we're going to talk about the business side of it. We're going to talk about why we chose that company. There's a whole lot behind our strategy here. What our goals are, what we plan on doing, what we plan on getting from this video, other than a couple $1 million in our Lamborghinis and everything. But no, we're going to talk about what's the real world strategy behind creating this content.
Absolutely. And then too, we're going to be sharing out the final animation and our final work with you very shortly over on Instagram. So once we get that video 3 up, you can see what we created, and then we're going to see what happens, right?
Yes. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it all and see what happens.
I love it. And then you'll be sure to join us back to live on the 26th, where we will be catching up and talking about everything that we did here and see what kind of impact we had. So thank you for this, Ty. I think we got some good things coming up.
Oh yeah, we do.